What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin, BTC, USD. It is the 17th day of April, and here we are sitting at about $76.1 thousand, basically 76.2, the highest prices we've seen since early February of this year, since these dropping times over here. We're above these highs. We have about 10 hours, 53 minutes left in the day. Hit that like button, subscribe, and thank you all for being here. We are climbing right now, baby. Here we are. It is what hour is it right now? It's like the 14th hour, the 13th hour. Yeah, over the next 2 hours, the 14th and that 15th hour, those are typically the hours that we do see some movements up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did push higher going into the beginning phase of this day. I also wouldn't be surprised if at some point today we found a high point and then we came back down. Maybe we close red, we leave a big wick behind. Perhaps we do continue to climb higher. Let's get this out of the way first and foremost, okay? Bearish. I was bearish at all of these highs here, right? And then we were bullish right here at this low. I was bearish here, and I've basically maintained that bearish stance since then. And I still do maintain a bearish stance. None of that's changed, but I have been wrong. And this is very similar to what happened back here. I did maintain a bearish stance here. I remember here we were bearish, here we were bullish. Even at these little wicks, every single one of these wicks, I was bearish and then bullish at the low. Bearish at the high, bullish at the low. Bearish here, we thought we were going to go lower, but then it moved up a little bit higher. I was wrong by like less than 3%. And then inevitably we went down. And up here we were still bearish. I'm reminiscent now of this moment here where I was bearish here, but if I just waited a few days, that would have been the actual top. I think it's a similar circumstance here. In other words, what I'm trying to say is I don't expect that we're going to break through 80K. I don't expect that we're about to break out. What I do expect is that, especially with this low ass volume that we're seeing, what I do expect is that a lot of people are setting up their long positions, their bets, and they're getting fixed to get wrecked, basically, is what's happening. And I do think that this is exciting. This is nice. Crypto, what the heck just happened? Crypto Fear and Greed is at the highest readings that we've seen, really, in months now, in like half a year. It's at some of the highest readings we've seen in a very long time. People are getting bullish. People are getting giddy. You can see it on X.com. And sure, there are a lot of bears like me who have a sour taste in their mouth. I'm not really that sour about it. I'm definitely not switching bullish here, but I am more accepting now, obviously, than I was back here, that we could move up to about 78K. Maybe we do move up to 79K. But again, this puts us in an interesting predicament because getting up here, as exciting as it is, what would not be exciting is getting up here and then coming back down below these highs here. That would imply that this is a fake out and that this is not a real breakout. And if we're actually getting a fake out from this range, that would then imply that we return to the lower ends of this range, maybe even breaking through this range to the downside. So just this idea here that pushing higher right now, if we are going to push higher, we need to see a little bit more than just 78K, 80K. We would need to get to 84K, 88K. We need to break above these lows effectively. That's what needs to happen, and really maybe even these lows. And I'm not there yet. I'm not on that plane of existence right now. I mean, at this point, I'm more again comparing it to this price action over here, where we have a partial rise in comparison. But maybe I'm way off, man. Maybe we do push through 80K. I hope we do. That'd be great. That'd be very exciting for the markets. That, you guys, we get above 80K. We get above 84K especially, we're really going to start to talk about the possibility that this might be the low. This really could be the low. We could, of course, go up to this area and then eventually work our way down. That can happen too. But again, if we go in the sense of the last bear market, if we go analyze that here, we take a look at this. Anytime that we had a large consolidation phase, right, we moved down, we had a large consolidation phase. Whenever we found the highs of our next consolidation phase, we didn't interact with those lows. Whenever we found the highs of our next consolidation phase, we didn't even interact with those lows, right? So in that kind of context, in the spirit of that, whatever that is, I would think that we don't interact with these lows here. We start doing that, we start interacting with these lows, we're doing something different than the last bear cycle, and that doesn't necessarily mean that this is the low in itself, but it does mean we're doing something different. That ups the chances that this is the bottom, which I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. We'll start to get there if we get above 80K and specifically above 84K. But for right now, my expectation is that in the grand context of this move from a low to a high, I do believe we're at the upper limits of this move. We're right at the point where people start to FOMO, where like they really start to FOMO, where that excitement comes into play. People are putting their longs on the table and their big old schlongs on the table, and then, well, you know what comes next afterwards. I'm still maintaining the stance that we're moving sideways, even though, yes, we're above this high. Moving sideways does not mean that we can't move above this high, right? We basically moved sideways this whole time, quite literally moved sideways this whole time, and we still had higher highs. You can do that. We can move sideways and get lower lows as well, right? We were moving sideways here and we had lower lows. So just because we're moving up does not necessarily mean that we're breaking out. And again, I would stand by that claim there that we're not breaking out, especially with the lack of volume that we're seeing. This is on Binance. This is the Binance chart, USDT, the highest volume traded pair in the space. If we were to have reliable volume, it surely would come from this chart. So the fact that we're not getting volume on this quote unquote breakout, it makes me all the more cautious. I do believe we will return to prices. I'm not saying that from here we're going to crash and go down below 40K like all these perma bears are saying. I don't think that we'll get below 40K at all. I have a hard time imagining that we get too far below 50K, if at all below 50K. I definitely do believe at this point that we still go lower than this. But again, this is interesting stuff, and this is more tenacious than we normally see. And things are shaping up not just in the crypto markets, but in the markets abroad as well, like around the world. Like things are looking interesting. It's hard to be mega bearish here. But again, in the grand context of how I'm assuming this range to play out, this is just a sideways range. We're at the top of it. This move has been fun, but likely we're going to see some recovery to the downside, at least a little bit. I stand by the analysis that we will go below 69K at some point here. If we take this low and put it at this high right now, golden ratio is right there at 69K. Maybe we don't go below 69K. You know, before the golden ratio was actually just below 69K, but now it's actually a little bit above there. So maybe we don't go below 69K, but right to it. This does change things a little bit, but just a little bit. A lot of people are focusing on this high. I think the high they need to focus on is this high. I think the price they need to focus on is this price, right? This little range here, if you can break out of this pocket, I'm going to have a completely different zone or a completely different tone. But if we hit this zone and then reject, it's exactly what I've been saying since here. We're at the top of this move. I was a little bit early. We were bullish basically all the way through, right? And in that last little quarter of it, we got that wrong, or even fifth, however much that is. And that happens. That's okay. I've been really not trying to toot my own horn, but I've been very accurate since March, you guys. Since the end of February, I've been very, very accurate. This is not even the most wrong I think that I've been. Let's see, because I was bearish here. We're up about 3 points. So yeah, this is the most wrong that I've been since the beginning of March. So hot streaks come to an end. That's not a bad way to end it, and we very well could and likely do continue to climb. I want to see the short-term stuff. I want to stop talking so much about myself and just about the price action. I actually want to get into the indicators and look at the short-term stuff and see if we can't depict what's going on here. So looking at this here, 76.8K. Moved sideways. We're doing our stair-stepping formation. We had a chance to break out here, and that was faked out, man. We faked that out right away, ripping to the upside here. Beautiful, beautiful recovery. If we look at this here from a high to a low, we're not going to take the fake out low. We're at the 1272. Look at this, guys. I mean, we found resistance at the golden ratio, and we found it again, and now we're finding support at the golden ratio. This is awesome. We're likely going to continue up to, I mean, from here it's pretty obvious, 77K or higher, 77.6K, and this being a very small fib extension in itself, we could very likely see higher prices. At this point, I am having a hard time imagining we get above 80K, or at least too much above 80K, but certainly those targets are on the table. They certainly are, especially with this kind of momentum that we've got going. The RSI is extremely bullish. You've been getting consistently overbought. You didn't get oversold at all. Living consistently above the 50 and you're overbought again after rejecting the overbought. So it's so bullish, you guys, so bullish, so tricky, and ultimately showing your hand to the upside with volume coming in. It's good. It looks good. 44 minutes left. We've got this much volume moved up like that. This hour might end bad. We'll see. We will see. I'm very skeptical of hours that start off hard in one direction and with a lot of volume. You know, typically that allows for you to pull back and leave behind a big wick, but this could also just be the beginning of breaking out here. I mean, we start to build volume, guys, as we're moving higher. We really could be making a run for 80K. Crazy stuff. Stochastics are bullish. The MACD is bullish. It's all bullish. It all looks good. You had every opportunity to be bearish, and you just didn't take it. You flipped the script and turned it bullish. So it's impressive. It's impressive to say the least. The RSI on the 4-hour time frame is the most impressive thing. You guys, when you see things like this, and this is actually what made me bullish down here, when you see things like this where you get bearish divergence and then it goes away. You had your bearish divergence, and then you literally got rid of it here with this move. You still moved down. We were still expecting that you'd move down, but at this level, we got bullish, and I was very much expecting a move up. I wasn't expecting us to go above this high, or if we did, just a little bit higher. But man, we're still going. The whole point of what I'm saying here is we had bearish divergence and we just got rid of it. We basically disregarded it. None of this is bearish divergence. These were just consistent iterations in the overbought zone. You're not getting oversold. You're spending very minimal time below the 50. This is a picture perfect bullish RSI on the 4-hour time frame. It's phenomenal, and we're doing it still. We just got into the overbought zone. This is where we do our best work. So fly birdie fly, keep going higher. Stochastics are getting overbought, and again, very consistent in the overbought zone, very consistent above the 50, bouncing off the 50, beautiful stuff. You got oversold a little bit here, but whatever. That was over the weekend. Weekend stuff is kind of odd sometimes. And the MACD is just beautiful. I mean, it's aggressive. It's very aggressive. And we could climb higher from here, guys. We're at like a real serious point where we really could be breaking out, but I want to see more volume. The 1-hour time frame, relatively speaking, it's decent volume. The 4-hour time frame, relatively speaking, it's not as decent. In the daily time frame, this is not breakout volume. We need to see breakout volume on the daily time frame if we want to get above 80K and stay there, if we don't want this to be a fake out. At this point in time, especially looking at the volume here and on the daily, I am having a hard time imagining that we get above 80K. But between here and there, sure, we could move up a little bit higher. We could move up $1,000 more, $2,000 more. Much past that, I'm having a hard time imagining. I really do think we're in bull trap territory here, you guys. We are getting people excited, and it's always at the highs, but we'll see. We'll see. There's a lot of positive momentum going on, and it's not just in crypto. It's in the markets around the world, really. Maybe not Iranian markets or Chinese markets, but most markets. 4-hour time frame looks bullish. 2 hours, 41 minutes left. If this 4-hour time frame comes down and closes red, we probably have a high. We probably have our high right here. If it comes down and closes red, if we reject from here, you got a lot of time left. Let's see how it plays out. But if you can close here or higher, yeah, we might be pushing for 80K. And if we can get above 80K, guys, whoo-hoo, it's going to be very exciting. We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, daily time frame. Daily RSI doing something we haven't done since January, getting overbought. Again, we have 10 hours, 40 minutes left in the day. Let's hold our horses before we get too excited. There's a lot of time left in the day. We're only up 2.2% on the day. We could absolutely come down and close today red or more neutral. And if we see something like that, again, we really are in fake out territory. So let's wait for confirmation before you get too excited. The MACD's building bullish momentum, baby. Look, I mean, and you're breaking through the zero. There's a couple things going on here on the daily time frame, which I did not expect originally. Okay, which I truly did not expect originally. We look at this, and you're not just breaking through the zero. Your oscillators here aren't just breaking through this threshold here. You're not just breaking through that. You're also breaking through this trend line, which is bullish, which is very bullish. You've got two very bullish things happening at the same time together, not to mention you're in a position where you really could be breaking out of this range. I don't think you are. The volume's not there to dictate that, at least in my opinion, to suggest that. But you have a chance. It's the strongest chance we've had really since March. We did not have a lot of volume there. Look at the breakout, right? Look at the breakout. There was no volume. We were actually decreasing in volume. Does that sound familiar? Because that's exactly what's happening now. People were very excited back here. They're even more excited here. We go to our liquidations over the past 30 days, our liquidation map. There's no shorts. There's less than 2 billion in shorts. There's over 10 billion in longs over the last month. We know how this ends. Okay, that doesn't mean from here that we dump. I mean, maybe we do exactly like we did these other times. Maybe it's something a little bit more aggressive. Maybe it's something that's more methodical, and so methodical that it gives us a chance to consolidate, find support at prior resistance points back here, and then recover and continue higher. I'm not of this belief. I'm also not really of this belief. I'm more somewhere in between and a little bit prolonged on the bearish side. I'm of like this belief, and then we'll probably come up higher. We'll see. It really depends. And we'll do this all again in May or June. I wouldn't be surprised. I also would not really be surprised at all if by the end of April we were at prices that are around, if not below, 70K. And here we are at the 17th of April. So we still got about a half month to go. But impressive move so far, guys. Very impressive move. And these impressive moves, these ones where you quote unquote should have moved down, but you don't. These are the things you need to pay attention to. And man, the MACD is very interesting right now. It does depend on today's close. I would even say it depends on the volume in tomorrow's close as well. But tomorrow's Saturday. It's the weekend. I don't know. It might not matter. It's interesting, the weekend stuff. We can move up over the weekend, but even if we move down, it's not that detrimental. It'd actually be better if we move down over the weekend because that gives us more reason to move up the following week. Typically, we fill those CME gaps. Speaking of which, BTC futures here. This video is going on way too long. Man, it's so much easier to talk about the price action whenever we're moving up. Even if you're wrong, man. Right? I mean, we got this gap here to fill. We got this gap, which does go all the way up to about $84,000 to fill that gap there. Now, again, Bitcoin can reach a price of like 81K and the CME futures could reach 84K. That doesn't necessarily mean the Bitcoin price reaches 84K, but there is this gap to fill. And on top of that gap, we do still, my friends, have a gap down here from 69K to 70K. We have a gap down here from 67K to 67.7K to fill. We do have gaps down as well, or on the downside, gaps up from the downside as well to fill. So just keep that in mind. Anybody who's saying that this is the end of the bear market, at this point, it's a bit presumptuous. Not all gaps have to fill. There are plenty of gaps from prior bear markets that have not filled. I'm not going to go all the way back there. I thought I could do that a little bit closer. There are plenty of gaps from like below 40K, below even 20K that have yet to fill. But I don't think these will be one of those gaps. I don't think these will be one of these forever gaps. We likely do come down and fill them at some point. Bitcoin here, very aggressive. Very aggressive. Love to see it. Stochastics are bullish as hell. MACD is bullish as hell. RSI is getting overbought for the first time in a while. If you want this move to sustain, I've given you a lot of parameters. Here's another one. The RSI, you don't want it to come into the overbought zone and then out of it. Into it and then out of it. You don't want that. I mean, if it does this, if we do this enough times, okay, that's actually great. That's the preferred method. Look at how well that worked out on the 4 hour. But ideally, you want to stay in the overbought zone. You want to kind of stay in it, bounce off of it. You want to stay in it. That is the strong shit right there, man. Right? Like this is strong on the bearish effect. Look at what we did. Look at what we did in that time, man. I mean, from the 29th of January to the 6th day of February, it's just a dump city. It could be pump city if we do something similar. But if we just get in and then out, it's just a quick pump and then an inevitable dump. That's all it is. I do expect, again, that we will not get above 80K. I'm sticking with that. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm sticking with the fact that we don't get above 80K. I'm sticking with the fact that we don't, or if we do, we're going to get like $100 or $200 above it. We're not going to get above this low. I'm sticking with that thought. And the initial drop will likely be aggressive. We will in like one day, and probably not over the weekend, maybe sometime next week. We will in one day drop down like $4,000 or more, something like that. Like it'll be an aggressive drop. Be very wary, my friends. Be very wary of two things coming up on the weekend here. If the weekend we see a dump on Saturday, Sunday, do not get bearish. We will likely pump into the week, into the next week. If we are bullish over the weekends, if we start pumping Saturday, Sunday, or even if we're just chilling, but there's really, really good news coming out of the Iran-U.S. conflict or something that's very bullish for the markets. We just hear some super bullish news that comes out over the next 2 days. Maybe it happens. We see something like that, be very wary for Monday's open. Okay. Same thing if we get negative news. Be very excited for Monday's open. That's how it was back here. Whenever it was Sunday, boots on the ground, the war's going to escalate, the talks didn't go well. And I was telling you guys, actually the talks, if you heard what J.D. Vance said, they actually went well. He said that it actually went well. They talked for 21 hours. You think that it was a bad talk? It went well. We were saying this at the lows. And because we dumped over the weekend, I'm like, we're probably going to pump aggressively. I didn't think we'd keep doing this, but hey, enough about me. I think I've made enough points. I think I've said enough. I've given you enough to digest. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. If we are breaking out here, guys, the target area to expect would be at a minimum 79.3K. And that still wouldn't really constitute as a breakout necessarily. It depends on the volume and everything. But I mean, we could make it as high as 83.7K. We get above 84K, you guys. Things will be interesting. Things will be very interesting. I'm skeptical, but I hope to be proven wrong. I hope that would be great. That'd be great for all of us, I think. At least the majority of people. But again, it's things like this that have me a little bit concerned, man. That's really all it is. I got nothing else for you. Hit the like button, subscribe, take care of yourselves. There are exciting things going on. Weekly MACD crossing green, stochastic shaping up. Not bullish divergence, but bouncing off the oversold zone, like breaking out of your downtrend. There's a lot of exciting things on the weekly too, man. If this is the low, this was never a bear market. We're going to look back, mark my words, and this is something that we've theorized too. This is something that we have theorized. But if this is the low, this was never a bear market. This was a correction in what will inevitably be proven to be our first super cycle for Bitcoin, where we have like a right translated cycle instead of a left translated cycle. And this was not a left translated cycle anyways. It was right on point, but man, if that's the case, how waves work, right? This would then be wave one, because if this is not a bear market and this is just a correction, an A, B, C correction, that's all it is. That's a correction of wave one. Very serious correction of wave one. Wave two is the correction. Wave three, look up Elliott wave theory. Is wave three typically the biggest wave? Typically, wave three or wave five, yes, they are the biggest waves, typically. So if this was wave one, from 15,500 to 126,000, I could only imagine what wave two would bring us. And if this is a super cycle, we've got wave three would bring us. We've got wave four and wave five as well. I mean, we could millions, man. Or at least hundreds of thousands. You know, you never know. And I'm not the most experted person in Elliott wave theory, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you had a running flat, corrective phase 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I don't know how it would work, man, but there's definitely some bullish beginnings. If this is a super cycle, if this is a correction and not a bear market, man, 2026 might be more exciting than we ever gave it credit for. Don't get too excited with these words. It's easy to say these things at the top. I still believe, even in the midst of all of that, even in the midst of all the hopes and dreams, I still thoroughly believe that we're not getting above this low, and that in the grand context of this low here to this high, we are at the top. We are at the top, if not very, very close to it. And what I mean is we'll probably come down. We might even go below these lows, and then still from there, we could come back up to these areas. I don't think that we're in jeopardy of breaking out right now. We could be, but I'm sticking with the idea that we're range bound until May, June. We'll probably break out to the downside in June, July. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Good job, Bitcoin. This is fun. Take care. Bye-bye.